Planning Committee meeting of Akron City Council. At this point, I'd like to request that our clerk please roll call the committee.
Fusco.
Here.
Kamer.
Aye.
Connor.
Here.
Taylor.
Aye.
Mosley.
Aye.
All committee members are present.
Very good, thank you. At this point, I'd like to entertain a motion. We accept the minutes of the previously held meeting.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Against? Okay, hearing none, it will pass as is. We have two items that are up for a public hearing, I believe, today. And the procedure is that we'll receive a report from our planning department in reference to the proposed conditional use request. After that, we will then, our clerk, Sarah Piano, will swear in any individuals that wish to speak to the committee. Ask that you be sworn in. After that, we'll open up the public hearing portion, ask for comments. If you could please provide for us your name and address, if there's any comments. After that, we'll close the public hearing portion. We'll then open it up to the committee members for questions, and city council after that, the rest of council. After that, we will repeat that process yet again this evening at 7 o'clock. The only significant difference in that process is that the committee will make a recommendation to all of council, either in favor, against, or to table an item, take time. So those are the procedures. And so with that, we'll go ahead and begin. The first item that's up for a public hearing is authorizing a conditional use to establish a 4-unit apartment at 642 East Wilbeth Road. Mr. Antonucci.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Chair, commission members. Stephen and Julie Andrews are requesting permission to establish a 4-unit apartment house at this address, 642 East Wilbeth. The large 2.5-story brick dwelling constructed in 1930 contains 3,248 square feet of living area and is sited on the eastern portion of the 10,800 square foot lot. The dwelling contains a 2-bedroom unit on the first floor, an efficiency unit plus a 1-bedroom unit on the second floor, and a 2-bedroom unit on the third floor. The zoning staff conducted research for a zoning certification letter in March of 2023 and discovered the property was only zoned to permit a legal non-conforming 2-unit dwelling. However, while the property was never zoned for apartment use, records do indicate that the dwelling contained more than 2 units since the 1950s. Further, the dwelling has been rental registered as a 4-unit, and a recent housing division inspection determined that all 4 units meet housing code requirements. This large property fronts a main arterial. The property exceeds the required amount of off-street parking spaces and contains ample open space. This Firestone Park property is well maintained. The planning staff and planning commission recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. This time we'll ask if there's anyone here who wishes to testify in reference to the conditional use request at 742 East Wilbeth. If there's anyone wishing to testify, I see or hear no one. I don't believe anyone had signed in to participate via Zoom. So we'll simply conduct the public hearing for formality purposes, open up the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor or against, favor against, favor against, no one. Will now close the public hearing portion and we'll open up to any comments or questions from any committee members. If there's any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, With that, we'll now move on to the second item that is up for a public hearing, which is ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a tree service business at 2514 East Avenue. Mr. Antonucci.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Rebound Property Management is requesting permission to establish a commercial tree service business on this residentially zoned property. MD Tree Surgery has been illegally operating the commercial business on the property. The petitioner filed a conditional use application in February of 2023, and an April inspection revealed 2 bucket trucks. One was inoperable, piles of wood, and a lot that looked poorly taken care of. After further communication with the petitioner, a more detailed site plan was submitted in May of 2023. The site plan details 2 concrete pads to be constructed in the rear yard for the parking of bucket trucks, along with solid wooden fencing enclosing the rear of the property. The concrete parking pads would be accessed from a new sliding gate along California Avenue. Goals of the Land Use and Development Guide Plan include preserving and protecting single-family neighborhoods and encouraging the development of commercial activities in areas suited to their needs. Although the property to the east is commercially zoned and developed, operating a commercial tree service business improperly in a single-family zoned area could be a blighting influence on the neighborhood. The rear yard of this single-family dwelling does not contain ample space, nor is it currently properly developed for a commercial business. Planning staff recommended disapproval. However, Planning Commission recommends approval with conditions. Thank you.
Thank you for that report, Mr. Antonucci. I'd like to ask our clerk, Ms. Viviano, if she could swear in any individuals that may be here to testify reference this conditional use. Ms. Viviano?
If you're here to provide testimony, could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, "I do."
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll open up the public hearing portion and ask if there's anyone wishing to speak in favor. Please step to the microphone, push the big circle in the middle so that the red light, there you go, got it.
Thank you. We got together several months ago to discuss this proposal. Just by way of background, I've owned this property since 2013, and at that time, we received conditional approval for a child care facility. It was conditional commercial zoning for that purpose. My error was 4 years later when that tenant moved out, 5 years later when that tenant moved out, I was unaware that that conditional zoning approval goes away. And I rented to Mr. Dominic the property for MD Tree Surgery. A couple of things to note. First of all, Marlon's primarily his own business. He occasionally has some other people that work with him. He simply parks a bucket truck and his work truck and a chipper on the property. It's a double lot. It's 2 lots deep on the property. And there is currently fencing, but it's really not sufficient. This business operated for nearly 7 years with no complaints from any neighbors, no negative impact on the neighborhood. You must understand this neighborhood, while it is zoned single family, and we fully accept that, it is a highly commercial neighborhood, being right at the joint of Kenmore Boulevard, East Avenue, and the on-ramp to Route 76, which is no longer there anymore. But at any rate, there's really only one direction where there's two directions where there's single-family housing. To the north, there is a house there, and to the south, there's a house, but it's owned by the car lot across the street. So by and large, it is a mostly commercial neighborhood. Our proposal is, we received a complaint from the city, not from a resident in the neighborhood. And that complaint came because of a complaint that was going on in the neighborhood there. They noticed Marlin's trucks on the property, noted that it was a single-family property, and as a result, issued a complaint. We have tried to address that complaint. Our intention is to put hard surface parking in for all the equipment, to put better wood fencing in and a gate that will conceal really in any direction the view of any of the property. Like I said, most of the view that you get is from the on-ramp to the highway and largely obstructed by cattails and Mud Run Creek that is there. So by and large, it's mostly a commercial property. I understand that I made a mistake in my understanding of how the zoning rules work, and ask that I can answer any questions that you may have and ask for your approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of the conditional use request at 2514 East Avenue?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, my name's Marlon Dominic. It's 2514 East Avenue, Akron, Ohio. And I am the business owner, and I believe I've been living there since 2016. When this all came about, the letter that I received was that we had, can't think of the word to say, but we kind of made the condition for the complaint, where we haven't really done anything to the neighborhood, but all these vehicles that are stated on the property, they all run, every one of them. And now I have moved them to a place that I don't want, and they're being destroyed. And I need to get them back. Otherwise, if we find out that this doesn't go through, then I'm going to have to move my business, and it'll just be devastating for me personally, because it's a lot to do right now. But I guess that's all I have to say for that.
Okay.
And
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you both. And of course, you're welcome back this evening for the 7 o'clock public hearing as well. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor or against this proposal? Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing portion and open it up to any committee members that may have questions. I have one, but I'll recognize Ms. Mosley first.
This question may be for Mike. How many vehicles are we talking about here, Mike? Because I'm looking on their website, and I'm just trying to figure out, they've been in business for 30 years. How do we figure this out?
Yeah, so there's, like the gentleman said, there's, the bucket truck at a chipper, and I believe I saw another truck on the property. But yeah, it's been there since, I believe, at least 2016, operating. The way that the city was informed about, where the zoning office was informed, is that this neighborhood assistance was doing a cleanup on another property across the street, and noticed the commercial operation going on there out of this residence, essentially in a residential district, and so notified us of the zoning violation, and that's how we notified the property owners.
So you mentioned you had to move the vehicles somewhere where they're being vandalized. How far away are you having to park your vehicles, if you could?
There's a gas station about maybe a block from the freeway. It's just, what, 1,000 feet?
1,000 feet from across the street and down.
I'm sorry, could you come speak into a microphone?
So,
Thank you.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, the property he's referring to is a gas station on East Avenue to the south of our property. Really, to be honest, most of this neighborhood is highly vandalized. So the fence is going to be even an additional improvement for Marlin's business, because we've had, frankly, vandalization on our property as well. But nonetheless, yeah, Marlene, I believe now you're down to really one bucket truck and your chipper, and then another truck that you utilize to tow materials and that sort of thing, right?
Correct.
So really 3 vehicles altogether, chipper being on a trailer.
Gas station, we're talking about Circle K or Marathon? What part of East Avenue am I on?
The Marathon.
Marathon, okay. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I have one in reference to, did you say you live there at 2514?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so obviously fronting East Avenue there.
And I also would like to say that I don't actually run the business from this property. This business goes to the customer. So I'm on their property running a business. There's anywhere from 2 to 3 employees that will park, and they will go with, we will leave that site with the equipment that we need for the job, and then we're on the job. Other than that, no one comes there for any kind of business or sales. It's all done outside of that property.
Gotcha. Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Very good. Any other questions or comments? I'm not seeing any, so therefore, we will call on Mr. Malik.
Thanks, sir. Just following up, how long have you lived at the property?
I believe since 2000.
Okay, thanks.
Nick?
Just to clarify, Rebound Property owns the property. We bought it in 2013. Mr. Dominic leased it from us in 2016, so he's been parking his vehicles there since 2016.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both for coming down again. And again, 7 o'clock this evening, we will basically have another public hearing. Everything's the same, except for the recommendation from committee. So thanks again for coming down this afternoon. Certainly appreciate it. Welcome you back this evening. Thanks. Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll now move on to the balance of the agenda, of which I'm going to recommend time. And we'll move into the new list of legislation. I believe there's 1 or 2 here, 3 pieces. So the first one, I'll let you read this in, Ms. Biviano, as your voice is much better than mine.
Item number 2, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct a parking lot at 921 Cordova Avenue for the Maple Valley Resource Center at 1474 Copley Road and declaring an emergency.
Okay, very good. I propose a public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye against. Ayes have it. Thank you. Number 3.
Item number 3, offered by Fusco, ordinance amending the zoning map by changing the apartment house use district classification U2H2A2 use on property located south of the properties fronting East Market Street from Fountain Street East to Ivan Place to a retail business use district classification U3H4A5 use and declaring an emergency.
For a public hearing on the 30th. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye against. Very good. Item number 4.
Item number 4, offered by Fusco, ordinance amending supplementing Title 15, Chapter 153 Zoning Code, Section 153.140 Definitions, and Section 153.310 Business and Industry Requirements by establishing a form-based urban overlay district for the East Market Street corridor and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. We'll schedule a time to discuss this in more detail later. Okay, any questions, comments? Hearing none, very good. A motion to refer this item? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. That concludes our planning committee meeting of City Council. Thanks.
Our next committee today will be the Public Safety Committee, and it will begin at 2:15. Those committee members are Kamer, Mosley, Lombardo, Malik, and McKittrick. Again, that's the Public Safety Committee, and it will begin at 2:15. Thank you.